Today we're playing some Cannibal Cat combo in Pioneer, some Ygra Cauldron Familiar infinite combo. And Cease, what do you think about that, Cease? What do you think? Yeah, do you like it? Do you like that idea? Yeah. So here is our Cannibal Cat food cat combo deck for Pioneer. And the idea of this deck is to go infinite with Ygra, Eater of All, our new tiger or leopard or whatever it is. One of the most flavorful cards that Wizards has made in quite a while. A 5-mana 6/6 that says other creatures are food artifacts in addition to the other types. They do all the food stuff, sack them to gain life, all that. When a food goes to the graveyard, which means any non-Ygra creature or a real food, you put 2 counters on it, and it has Ward of Sack a Food, which is actually sack a creature, or a food because all the creatures are food. So how do you go infinite with Ygra and Pioneer? And there's a couple of ways, but our primary combo involves another cat in Cauldron Familiar. So Cauldron Familiar, you probably know this one. 1 mana 1/1, when it enters, you drain for 1, opponent loses life, you gain a life, and you can sack a food to return Cauldron Familiar from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this is where the Cannibal Cat combo kind of comes in. So the way this works is if we have an Ygra on the battlefield, all of our creatures, including our Cauldron Familiars, are food. So what we can do is have a Cauldron Familiar in the graveyard, 1 on the battlefield. We can sack the 1 on the battlefield because it's a food, so we eat it with the Cauldron Familiar in the graveyard. The new one comes into play. We drain for 1. Now we have a Cauldron Familiar in the graveyard, so we can sack the food Cauldron Familiar on the battlefield, eat it when the one in the graveyard. It comes into play, drains for 1. Essentially, infinite drain of our opponents. We win the game on the spot. So that's the primary goal of the deck. Ygra on the battlefield, 2 Cauldron Familiars can be in the graveyard or on the battlefield. Loop them, drain you out of the game. The other super key piece to this deck, maybe the most important card, is Scavenger's Talent. So Scavenger's Talent is the card that basically holds the deck together. So it's one of the new class enchantments. Level 1 is when 1 or more creatures you control die, you make a food once each turn. So this actually kind of combos in a weird way with Cauldron Familiar. We can play Cauldron Familiar with Scavenger's Talent, block with a Cauldron Familiar, it dies, we make a food, sack the food, get it back. So it kind of makes Cauldron Familiar an infinite blocker, similar to Witch's Oven. Level 2 is whenever you sack a permanent, target player mills 2 cards for 2 mana, and then for 3 mana, level 3 is at the beginning of your end step, you can sack 3 other non-land permanents. If you do, return a creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield with a finality counter on it. And all of these abilities are super relevant to what we're trying to do. Because remember, to combo off, we need Ygra and 2 Cauldron Familiars, but thanks to Scavenger's Talent, we can kind of just mill our combo pieces. So what we really want to do is play the Scavenger's Talent, get it to level 2, so then as we're sacking food, sacking Cauldron's Familiars to Witch's Ovens or whatever, we're able to just keep milling ourselves. Eventually, this is going to mill more Cauldron Familiars and mill an Ygra, and then we level up to level 3, we can sack some of our food and our Cauldron Familiars to get back to Ygra from our graveyard, and then just combo off on our end step by looping the Cauldron Familiars to win. So essentially, this supports our fair game plan by making Cauldron Familiar come back from the graveyard with the food. It finds our combo pieces, and then reanimates our combo pieces for the win. We also have a backup combo. This one, a little less likely to show up, but that is Ygra with Camella and also Woe Strider, hopefully with Scavenger's Talent, at least on level 2. So this one is Camella, whenever 1 or more food are sacrificed, we make a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. Remember, that squirrel is going to be a food thanks to Ygra, so we can sacrifice a random food, any creature, to Woe Strider. That's going to make a squirrel that is a food, so then we can sack this food squirrel to the Woe Strider to make another food squirrel and do it again and do it again. With the Scavenger Talent on level 2, it just gives us infinite mill, so we just mill our opponent's entire deck on the spot. And again, like we were talking about before, we can use Scavenger's Talent to mill over our combo pieces. We can escape the Woe Strider, and then we use Scavenger's Talent to reanimate the Camella or the Ygra or whatever, and use that to win the game. The rest of the deck, we got a bunch of food stuff. Witch's Oven works with Cauldron Familiar, makes food. Trail of Crumbs keeps us digging through our deck as we sacrifice food to find our combo pieces. Gilded Goose, pretty fine mana dork in general, but even better in this deck when we can sack any of our creatures as food to make mana. And then we just have our interaction. Fatal Push, Thoughtseize, Deadly Dispute gives us some card draw. Mana base, pretty straightforward Golgari stuff. In the sideboard, bunch of discard for control Knight of Dust Shadow to deal with Amalia, primarily life gain based decks. Unlicensed Search for Graveyard Hate. Haywire might pick your poison to get rid of artifacts and big flyers like Vein Ripper. Same with Blot Out, really good at answering Vein Ripper. And that is our cannibal cat food cat combo for Pioneer. That's our deck for today. So let's jump into some games and see if we can go infinite in Pioneer with Ygra and some Cauldron Familiars. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back in a bit for the wrap up. Need some magic cards? Well, you can snag them from our sponsor, Card Kingdom, over at cardkingdom.com/mtggoldfish. We've got new tokens and playmats, and you can even get the tokens signed if you want. Check them all out over at mtggoldfishmerch.com. Against the odds time, we are trying to do some cat fooding. Turning cats into food, sacking cats as food. It's cats, food cats all the time. In Pioneer. Basically, playing some Ygra? I say Ygra, but someone else said it's Ygra, which they probably know better than I do. But the tiger trying to sack multiple Cauldron Familiars. Oh, the combo is just funny because it's so cannibal-y. Like, I don't know why these cats are eating each other. That doesn't quite seem right, but this hand, as much as I love my one-landers, that one is not one we can actually one-land, one-keep. We don't even have the right colors. This, we can keep. We don't really know what we're up against. If we knew the matchup, we could probably put one of Fatal Push or Thoughtseize to the bottom. But since we're in the dark, Kamala is like a backup combo piece and a good value card, but we might have to just put it to the bottom anyway. Is there any way we can greed a land to the bottom? What about, yeah, I want to keep the Ygra or Ygra. Yeah, I think Kamala's the way to... Oh, boy. Mono white. All right, here comes the humans. Well, I'm glad we kept the Fatal Push. Not as glad about the Thoughtseize, but I guess it's fine. The good news is they probably don't have that many ways to kill Ygra if we can actually get it on the battlefield. I don't know if we can live that long. Let's play the pathway. And let's just start on... Yeah, let's Thoughtseize. See if we can get rid of like a Thalia's Lieutenant or something. That would be kind of scary here. Ambitious Farmhand, don't care. Adeline, very much do care. Brutal Cathar, hopefully we can get it with the Fatal Push. That is an answer to Ygra. Opponent land and Ambitious Farmhand. Well, that is about the least scary 2-drop that our opponent can play. It's not pumping their team. It's not staxing us like Thalia. Opponent gets and hits us. Down to 16. I guess play Cauldron Familiar. Cauldron Familiar's actually a pretty good blocker here. I guess our opponent could theoretically Brutal Cathar it. We can leave up mana, I guess. Leave up mana in case they do so we can Fatal Push it. Yeah, let's do that rather than playing a tap land. That is one of our combo pieces. So the easy combo, Ygra, Tiger thing, whatever it is, and 2 Cauldron Familiars. And then the Cauldron Familiars just keep eating each other forever, and I mean, I guess that's kind of what cats do. And passes. Well, play the land, and get down the Gildagoose. And I guess we just pass. I mean, in theory, we can just play the Tiger next turn. I wouldn't mind our opponent spending this Brutal Cathar. So they're just gonna Recruitment Officer, I guess. So if we play the Ygra, they definitely can sack Ambitious Farmhand. It seems pretty easy for our opponent to deal with. Fatal Push. Well, second Fatal Push isn't bad. The problem, well, I mean, I guess we can trigger Revolt with a food in the future. Yeah, let's just, I mean, I guess we got a tap land anyway, so we can't actually Ygra regardless. Probably gonna have to kill that. I think if we just let this draw every turn, that's probably not good for us. 4 cards deep for a Hopeful Initiate, and you've done your recruiting. Out of here, Recruitment Officer. Question is still, do we run out the Ygra next turn? I mean, if we draw another land, it's pretty easy to run out Ygra, because then we're able to Fatal Push the Brutal Cathar. Hopeful Initiate's fine for the time being. It's kind of funny how much this Cauldron Familiar is just shutting down our opponent's attacks. They can't really attack into it because it's just going to trade with their creatures. The wall of cat defense, shutting down the humans, which, as someone who lives with a cat, my god. Cats, wow, okay, opponent. No reason not to block here. We can make another food and get it back anyway. This is kind of a freebie. Well, kill the Dauntless Escort. Opponent. Wow, gonna run out the Brutal Cathar. Okay, now we don't have to worry about the Brutal Cathar. And that means we do need to draw land now, because we are down a goose. But. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just get it back. Maybe this is better. Just get the goose back, make another food. That's probably better than needing another land. It does mean if they have a second Brutal Cathar, we're out of luck, but hopefully they don't. I mean, I think we just do it. I think it's time for the tiger. Sack of food. Sack of food to play the cat. And then we can still get back the Cauldron Familiar if we need to. So, okay, we're so close. All we need is another Cauldron Familiar. This is where Scavenger's Talent's so helpful. Because Scavenger's Talent mills to fill our graveyard as we are sacrificing food and doing those shenanigans. And it's just going to naturally mill us into Cauldron Familiars and Ygras. We haven't found one this game, though. Though they're funny. Ooh. Oh, okay. Well, hello, Cauldron Familiar number 2. Well, let's play a cat. The cat is food because Ygra says everything's food. The tiger life. Sack the Cauldron Familiar to the Cauldron Familiar. Cat eat cat. Cat grow cat. Cat drain you. Well, that's... You gotta be kidding me. Containment Priest. This is... In the main deck? In game 1? Okay. Containment Priest disallows our cat from entering from the graveyard because it wasn't cast. I guess I haven't played much Pioneer in a minute. Is that actually a thing people do now? Well, I mean, the good news is we still have a massive tiger that grows whenever anything dies because to the tiger, everything's food. Wow, opponent's going to take it. All right, down to 10. So I think we have kind of built the abyss, right? Where for now, for the rest of the game, hopeful initiate for our opponent. From now, for the rest of the game, our opponent is going to have to chump block. We can also block with our land here, so our opponent can't really attack. So our opponent's going to have to throw a creature in front of the tiger every turn, because the tiger's kind of hungry, and that'll just keep growing the tiger, making it more voracious. Trail of Crumbs is a pretty good draw. It doesn't help us find an answer to Containment Priest, but it does draw us permanence, which is nice. Yeah, let's play the Trail of Crumbs. We can't, sadly, get back this call. We need to get rid of the Cauldron, Containment Priest before we can Cauldron Familiar. Or else we just do what we did before, throw our cat into exile for no reason. So if our opponent doesn't block, we just sack a food and they die. Opponent. And sacks it to gain some life and grow the tiger. Tiger's up to a 10-10. And yeah, let's sack the food. Grow the tiger and draw. Well, I mean, there's a Cauldron Familiar. So now all we need is to find a Fatal Push, basically. If we can find a Fatal Push and kill the Containment Priest, our opponent needs to start attacking us if they're going to win this game. Like, opponent needs to take some risk here, because if they just sit back and throw a creature in front of Ygra each turn, we will win eventually. They need to be, like, attacking with all but one creature or something. Attacking at least with, like, 2 creatures. All right, opponent disagrees. Opponent's going to play defensively. I just don't know what this does, because they can never make their creatures big enough to actually trade with Ygra. And our opponent's board is just going to be getting smaller and smaller. And the smaller their board gets, the less able they are to attack. And then they're just in this, they're abyss. It is kind of literally the abyss. The abyss in tiger form. If you don't know the Abyss, it's an old Legends rare. It's an old enchant. 4-mana black enchantment that's just, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, they sack a non-artifact, I think it is, creature. But essentially, that's what Ygra... Oh, another Containment Priest? That's actually annoying. That means that a single Fatal Push does not do it. And opponent Coppercoat Vanguard. I wonder how different this would be if they were trying to race here. Wow, just staying back. Sure, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. I mean... Maybe they think they can... Okay, we draw land off the Trail of Crumbs. Maybe they think they can actually trade with it. Maybe that's what they're going for. I don't think they can, though. Wow. Man, one turn off. We find the Fatal Push the turn after our opponent finds Containment Priest number 2. Our opponent's actually very committed to Containment Priesting, and I mean, I guess it's a shout out to Phoenix, I guess. I guess it also stops Vaynor off of Sorin, so I guess main deck Containment Priest actually just makes a lot of sense in Pioneer right now. Opponent blocks with the, oh, that was a fatal mistake. Blocks with the Containment Priest, sacks the Containment Priest, but this turns on the combo, right? We kill the Containment Priest, we play the Ward, and now, opponent's empty-handed. We do not have to worry about the blowout this time. Pay the 1, and also pay the 1. And now it is finally time for the cats and foods. Cauldron Familiar is a food and a cat. Cauldron Familiar, sacks a food, which is a cat. Drains for 1, grows the Ygra, and do it again, and do it again. See how long our opponent... Okay, I'm not going to stick it out for too long. I mean, it is deterministically infinite life gain, infinite damage. Well, on one hand, we didn't win as quick as it looked like we were going to win because of that Containment Priest. On the other hand, we just beat an aggro deck, which is kind of a scary matchup. I feel like aggro could just curve out and run us over, so kind of impressive. We do not have a ton of sideboard options for this. I guess can bring in like a blot out basically and run it back. Opponent's going to be on the play, which does make the matchup even scarier. Well, I mean, that's actually a pretty fine hand. Cauldron Familiar, Gilded Goose, honk honk. Ygra, even a Deadly Dispute. Ooh, and a Thoughtseize. Now let's play the tap land. We do need to hit another land or two. Found it. Rest in peace. Okay. Well, that is annoying. So that means we're not going to be winning by comboing. And we didn't really sideboard to beat Rest in Peace. Wow. Okay. The good news is our opponent is all in on this Rest in Peace. We'll take the Portable Hole because we can just kill the Copper Coat Vanguard, run out the Gilded Goose. Yeah, our opponent, they kept a hand that is objectively very bad for their deck, but they have Rest in Peace to stop our combo and like a lot of our synergies too. We can still grow Ygra, but it's got to be from sacking. Maybe we can't. So Ygra is just going to be a 6/6 forever. That's awkward. Well, I'll get rid of the Copper Coat, play a Witch's Oven, play a Cauldron Familiar. This is going to be an awkward game. Opponent's hand cannot pressure us, but their Rest in Peace is shutting down our synergies, so I don't know how this actually goes. Hopeful Initiate for our opponent. I mean, I guess the Ygra. Let me know in the comments how you actually are supposed to pronounce that name. I'm curious. But I guess it's still 6/6, right, with Ward, so it's still not bad. Like a 6/6 ward for 5 is kind of relevant. That will get there eventually. It's bigger than anything the human deck is going to be playing, I think. All right, what we can find. Opponent. Oh, the worst draw for our opponent. Rest in Peace number 2. Well, we are definitely never comboing off. I don't think we have enough enchantment removal in our deck, period, that we could combo off. But we can play an untap land and, using Gilded Goose mana, get down the Tiger. All right, opponent, can you beat a 6/6? They actually might not be able to beat a 6/6. I'm hoping the answer is no. Copper Coat Vanguard. Sure. Opponent passes. We draw a... Ooh, Trail of Crumbs is good, because Trail of Crumbs triggers when we sack a food, not when it goes to the graveyard. Rest in Peace keeps things from going to the graveyard, but does not prevent us from drawing cards with our Trail of Crumbs. Down to 13. We can sack and draw with this Deadly Dispute at some point. Opponent, pass. I feel again, man, I don't know. We get the Tiger down, and our opponent just goes into no attack mode, which has been great for us. I mean, I guess this hand for our opponent probably wasn't going to work out anyway. Like, once we got around the rest, their hand really was depending on the Rest in Peace just being game-breaking, and as good as it is against us, I don't think it's game... Ooh, Scavenger's Talent. Scavenger Talent's another card that triggers when we sack stuff, not when it goes to the graveyard. Can we mill him out? I mean, we do get to attack with the Tiger again. Pound it. Well, let's play the Scavenger Talent. So this is not in our deck to try to mill our opponent out, but that is a thing it could theoretically do. Pass the turn. So normally what we want to do with Scavenger's Talent, not going to work here because of Rest in Peace, but normally the idea is, always those Containment Priests. Normally the idea is, we get it down. It kind of works like a Witch's Oven almost with Cauldron Familiar, where it makes a food when something dies, so we can keep getting back Cauldron Familiar. Once we level it up, as we sack stuff, we mill ourselves. Hopefully that finds the Cauldron Familiars, but it can even find the Ygra. Once we get to the last level, we can sack some more random foods, get back the Ygra, combo off on our end step. So it's actually like incredibly built for this deck. It is like so perfect for what this deck's trying to do. Well, level it up. Get to the mill mode. No point going to level 3 because of the Rest in Pieces, but now we're Golgari Mill, I guess. Trail of Crumbs? I mean, at this point, I think our plan is just to drown our opponent in Trail of Crumbs advantage, and eventually we will sack the food, mill you. Mill them out with the Scavenger's Talent. Trail of Crumbs. Pay the 1. Ooh, double Scavenger's Talent. Okay, that'll speed up the process a bit. Pay the 1. Well, I guess we take the Cali Toss. Now I think with 2 Scavenger's Talents, milling our opponent out might actually be realistic. If every time we sack, we mill for 4, we do not have to sack that many permanents to mill our opponent's deck. We can probably win in the course of like 2 turns or something, right? Especially since, remember, all of our creatures are food. So we can sack all of, well, except for the tiger itself, but Trail of Crumbs. We're just going to level up this second Scavenger's Talent here. Level him up, level him up. Yeah, we're in very, very good shape. Not the way we were intending to win, but we'll take it. No attacks. Now I think we just stay on defense. So incredibly good at drawing Containment Priests. Whether they're good or not, our opponent's drawn a ridiculous amount of graveyard hate. Double Rip, double Containment Priest. Well, Portable Hole on the Scavenger's Talent. That's actually kind of a game-saving draw for our opponent. I don't know if we... Oh, going after the Trail of Crumbs. I think our opponent might be underestimating how much milling... Okay, I can respect getting frisky. Let the great milling begin. Or actually, let's sack the cat. I think this is fine. Sack the cat, mill you for 4, trigger the Trail of Crumbs, take a Witch's Oven. Gilded Goose is super good in this deck too. When all of your creatures are also food, Gilded Goose becomes even better. Mill ya, and then play the land, play the Witch's Oven, and yeah, I mean, I guess we play the Cali Toss. Does it even matter? I don't know if it matters what we do. Yeah, let's just pass. I don't think it really matters. I think we're gonna win this game no matter what we do at this point. This has been an opponent scoops it up. Not a great draw for our opponent, I will say. Not a great draw, but we got to see the combo and we got to see the awkward fair win, but well, that's cat food doing its thing. Ygra. I don't know. Whatever the big tiger is. Wombo, Combo, and Pioneer. And, I mean, we'll try this. This hand's okay. The Scavenger's Talents are good. We need a bit more support, perhaps, but about it. Land. And so many Scavenger's Talents. Well, let's start with the Thoughtseize. See what our opponent's up to. Seed of Hope. Oh, boy. All right, something spicy. Well, I mean, we're going to take Commune with the Spirits. I think that our opponent's trying to play Infinite Moriette combo, which is like a super old against the odds deck. You need the Elf Saga, right? And you can go infinite with it. Drawing another land is good. A little awkward that it's tapped, but we will. Let's see. Play Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Play Scavenger's Talent. Play Witch's Oven. Pass the turn. About it. Land on Elf, passes. Another Ygra. Well, let's play Camella and pass the turn. Mana Confluence. Passing. All right, there's a Blooming Marsh. Well, play the land. Level up a Scavenger's Talent. Play another Scavenger's Talent. This is one of the weirdest draws that I've ever seen. Get in, hit ya. Down to 19, pass the turn. Opponent, mills. Gets a Satyr Wayfinder. Blaze of Satyr. We need something we can sack. We don't really want to sack this Camella. All right, opponent. Ooh. All right, mills. They might be getting close. Jeez, Scavenger's Talent. Hit ya. And I think we just have to Castle Lockwing, as odd as that is. All right, there's a land. Play the land. Pass the turn. Squirming Emergence. All right, gets back Heraldry Knight's Elves, so that is the combo piece. So then they need to copy it with Moriette. They get a Tyvar. They take down Tyvar. Gets a Fauna Shaman. Well, I mean, we literally need to win the game this turn to draw a Thoughtseize. Let's see what we find. Trail of Crumbs. So just so you see the combo here, this says when you mill 3 cards, you put an elf from your graveyard onto the battlefield. Moriette enters as a copy of a permanent, except it's legendary, so in addition to its other types. So you can play this, copy the Herald Unites the Elves, Legend Rule the Moriette copy, Get it back, do it again, get it back, do it again, get it back, do it again. I believe, it's been a while, but I believe that's how the combo goes. And then you mill your entire deck, and then you win with Thassa's Oracle. I'm not sure what we can do here that can stop this. So we can play Trail of Crumbs. We get a food. We can sack the food to get a permanent. Mill ourselves. Make a squirrel. Sure. Get a swamp. Oh, there was a Thoughtseize too. Mill a couple cards. Well, play the swamp and play Scavenger's Talent number 4. I guess attack the Tyvar, not that it really matters. I believe this means we just die. I'm like 99% sure that this means we just die. Opponent discards a Moriette. Gets another Moriette. Tyvar down. All right, we'll let our opponent do the combo this time. Opponent bumps. They're pulling a shaman. So just so you can see how the combo works, and then we'll scoop. Opponent Moriette. What an incredibly weird draw for our deck. So opponent Heraldry Night Elves mills. Gets back the Moriette, and then Legend rules, and then gets back the Moriette, and then Legend rules, and gets back the Moriette, and Legend rules. Not 100% sure what our opponent's plan is. So this infinitely mills their deck. What is their plan for winning the game this turn, though? That's what I'm not 100% clear on. Yeah, so opponent does this till their deck's milled. I mean, we know the card is Thassa's Oracle, but Heraldry Night Elves only gets back... Oh, it gets back a Tyvar. I see. So they can get back... okay, so this is deterministically the win, right? Because Tyvar will be milled. Tyvar gets back the Oracle. Yeah. Fair enough. Opponent ahead in the against the odds race at the moment. So we're bringing in Licensors. We'll bring in the Go Blank. I guess the Haywire Mites. Fatal Push doesn't seem to do anything against our opponent's decks. Go down the Fatal Pushes and go down maybe one Deadly Dispute, run out like that. Well, as good as Scavenger's Talent is, you don't want to draw 4 of them in your top 10 cards. That was way too much scavenging. I mean, we're going to keep this hand. It's not the most exciting hand I've ever seen, but the Haywire Mite is good. The Haywire Mite can, oh, there's Ygra? I still can't believe that it's supposed to be Ygra. That just does not sound right. Overgrown Tomb tapped, and I don't think we play the Haywire Mite yet. Opponent land passes. Well, Blooming Marsh and Camella, and get in with the Cauldron Familiar down to 17. Opponent, Swamp, and Haywire Mite of their own. I guess we play, well, do we play Haywire Mite? Let's play Fabled Passage, and I think we just pass. And a Ravenous Chupacabra, sure, going after the Camella. Well, crack this to thin the deck. Grab a Swamp. The opponent, yeah, kills the Camella. Gets and hits us. We draw, boy, even more lands. The awkward drawing continues. Well, we'll pass the turn. So we got Ygra down. So now we just need another Cauldron Familiar. Opponent's going to do Heraldry Night Elves. However, we do have Haywire Mite, so we have a clean answer here. They get back a Tyvar. Tyvar's going to mill. Thinking. Passing. And we draw Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is not horrible. So I think we Thoughtseize our opponent. Yeah, I mean, I think this hand means our opponent wins no matter what. There's no way we can fizzle it, right? Because then they just Squirming Emergence. Okay, so I think we take the Squirming Emergence. We attack the Tyvar. Yeah, but our opponent just goes infinite, and there's nothing we can do about it. So yeah, all right, fair enough. It is cat food combo time. Cat food mulligan time. This hand's okay-ish, maybe. I mean, we got a Scavenger's Talent. That's a good card. We don't really have any combo pieces. What do you got, opponent? Stomping Grounds. Well, Pathway on black. Thoughtseize you. Opponent's playing Bard class. All right. Well, Bard class can pop off. Thankfully, our opponent does not have a Bard class in hand anymore. Opponent, Copperline Gorge and Trognar. Well, let's play Scavenger's Talent. Play Overgrown Tomb. Cauldron Familiar. Cauldron Familiar Scavenger sounds kind of cute because we can block and then we get a food and then the food can get back the Cauldron Familiar. And Hajar and Mox Amber and Ruby. All right, opponent has run out the hand, goes attack it. Block with the Cauldron Familiar. Get a food. Untap. When you do, target dinosaur you control. So if we play this, so we can play the land, play Camella. Yeah, I think we play it. I think we just play Technuma, play Camella. So our opponent could theoretically kill it. They would need to play their dinosaur, pay 2 for the dinosaur, and sack the Hajar to pump the dinosaur. And then they could kill it, but it would cost them their turn and the Hajar, basically. Opponent. Alright, opponent's gonna go for it to kill the Camella. So it pumps. And then opponent gonna pay the 2 and fight. So we get 2 sack of food. Get back the Cauldron Familiar, make a squirrel. Camella's gonna die. We get a food. Opponent. Well, I mean, we might as well chump because it's gonna come back anyway. Down to 10. We draw. Ooh, another Cauldron Familiar. We're actually close. Let's level up Scavenger's Talent. Play a Cauldron Familiar. Play a Restless Cottage. Pass the turn. We might be able to set it up in a way where, all right, opponent's gonna double power, sure. Get some triggers. So we will block, and we will block. So stuff dies, we get a food. Opponent plays a land, all right, so Cauldron Familiar, sack of food. So we need to mill a Ygra. We get the Cauldron Familiar. Let's wait for now. We draw Overgrown Tomb. Well, level up the Scavenger's Talent. Oh, get back the Cauldron Familiar. See if we can hit the Ygra. Get back the Cauldron Familiar. Mill 2 cards. We find another Cauldron Familiar. Play a Gilded Goose. Honk honk. Overgrown Tomb tapped. And yeah, I think we just have to pass. Pass the turn. No activation. Found it. Gonna double the power. Gonna go to combat. Sure. Gonna attack with everything. Sure. Well, we will block and block. Drop to 7. Get a food. Well, sack the food. Get back the cat. Mill. Ah, there's Ygra. There's Ygra. Is that enough? I think that's enough, right? Do we have enough permanence? So untap. Oh, now we definitely do. So Trail of Crumbs. Oh, I think we did it. I think we got the cat food combo. So now all we do is go to our end step. Stop on our end step. I guess we might as well make it food. I don't think it actually matters, but go to our end step. End of turn. Scavenger's Talent. Sack, sack, sack. Get back the Ygra. Mill you, I guess. And, oh, opponent scoops it up. Okay, so all we had to do, we didn't get to see it, but all we had to do was lift the cats. The cats are food, and they eat the food. But yes, the opponent scoops it up. Well, Bard class without Bard class. A little bit less scary than Bard class with Bard class, I will say. Haywire Might's in. Haywire Might's in. Kalitas, perhaps in. Maybe the Pick Your Poisons. We go down Deadly Dispute. We go 1 Camella. What else can we cut? Well, that's a combo. We didn't get to actually see it all in action that game, but that is the combo. Ygra, 2 Cauldron Familiars, GG. Scavenger's Talent's so perfect for this deck. When I was first building it, I was like, oh, okay, so we probably need a way to get Ygra back from the graveyard. Maybe some like squirming emergence reanimation or something. But really, Scavenger's Talent does it all. It makes the food, it fills the graveyard with the Ygra, and then it gets it back. It literally does every single thing that we could possibly want it to do. Maybe like 1 Thoughtseize? Maybe 1 Witch's Oven? We might not need all 4 Witch's Ovens. Especially since Scavenger's Talent sort of works like a Witch's Oven. And maybe we go 3 Trail of Crumbs. Let's try it like that. On to game 2 against Bard class. I mean, the challenge is simple. Keep Bard class off the battlefield. If you do, you got a shot. If you don't, you pretty much don't have a shot. All right, we'll keep this. We'll keep this because it can answer the Bard class. Opponent, tap land. Well, let's Hive the Eye Tyrant, Scavenger's Talent. Opponent, land. And Ruby Roo. Sure. Ooh, Thoughtseize, eh? Well, play the land. Thoughtseize you. Clothis, Luca, Ruby. So are we more worried about Luca or Clothis? So Clothis, every turn is 2, basically. I think we have to take the Luca and just play through the Clothis, basically. Or attempt to. Not much point in killing the Ruby when they have a second one in hand and it's legendary. About it. Haunted Ridge. And Clothis. Alright, now we will actually kill the Ruby. Kill the Ruby. Oh, I guess actually, we can actually just kill the Clothis with Haywire Might, can't we? So we can play the Haywire Might. Yeah, it is technically a non-creature enchantment at the moment. Get rid of the Clothis. Get a food. Gain a little life. And kill the Goose honk honk. Okay. I mean, now as long as our opponent doesn't draw a Bard class and level up the Bard class. All right, Ruby, that's kind of fine. And tap land. Goose holding down the fort. Swamp, eh? Swamp. Level up Scavenger's Talent. Pass and Deadly Dispute. So what are we looking for now? We need the Ygra. We need the Cauldron Familiars, although the Scavenger's Talent, yeah, I guess we should. All right, let's Deadly Dispute, sack of food. Mill a couple cards, because we could mill a Cauldron Familiar. Ooh, we milled the Trail of Crumbs. We kind of wanted the Trail of Crumbs. All right, we get a Trail of Crumbs anyway. That's fine. So opponent gets rid of the Scavenger's Talent. We will mill ourselves. And Sokenzan. We will block. Drop to 17. Ygra? Ygra? No Ygra yet. Play Castle Lockwane. Play the Trail of Crumbs. Play the Woe Strider. I mean, there's also, we can go infinite with Woe Strider and Camella, too, if we find it. That is the backdoor combo. 2 Cauldron Familiar is more common, but... Alright, well, sack the food. Trail of Crumbs. Dig for Ygra. Yes, we will pay the 1. Ygra. Well, take Cauldron Familiar. That's fine. That is one of the pieces we need. Overgrowth Tomb. Tapped. Cauldron Familiar. Gain a life. We're getting closer. Yeah, Bard class when they don't have a Bard class is kind of sad. No, not our Trail of Crumbs. Opponent. Opponent, we wanted that. All right, I'll sack the food. Well, there's Ygra. Okay, that is a good one. Trail of Crumbs down. We grab a... Let's take a Forest. Because we make a food with a Gilded Goose. Well, if we just top deck Camella... Oh, we don't have Scavenger's class to actually win. We make an infinitely big Ygra, but... Fatal Push. Well, Ygra. And next turn we might have it. We have a shot at it. We have a shot at it. Opponent. Adepts. Hajar. Sure. But that doesn't stop the Tiger. Opponent plays a land. Well, let's sack the goat. Scry. All we need is another Cauldron Familiar or, well, I guess Camilla plus Scavenger Grounds. Sack Cauldron Familiar, Scry. The Tiger's getting big. The Tiger's getting big. Sadly, it doesn't have Trample. If it had Trample, it'd be so much, just even better, really. Well, make a food. Untap. Another Ygra. Our opponent has to block, I think, or else they literally die. That's the upside of Ygra, is it turns into the Abyss pretty quickly. Bonus acts to gain some life. Sure. Well, let's draw a Castle Lockwane and see what we can find. I don't even know if we want a Cali Toss here. Let's just wait. I feel like if we Cali Toss, our opponent probably scoops. Let's make a food. And then we get back Cauldron Familiar to Scry. Cauldron Familiar. Sack of food. Grow the Tiger. It is pretty great. And then sack the cat, which is a food, to grow the cat, which is not a food. This deck. Forest to the bottom. Well, how about a Cauldron Familiar, sack of food? Grow the Tiger. And sack the cat. To scry. There it is, there it is, there it is. That is the missing piece of the puzzle. Cauldron Familiar number 2. So, all we gotta do, go to combat, attack you. We have the cat food combo. The big cat eats a little cat. The little cats are the food. About it. Sure. Sacks to gain some life. Doesn't take anything. But little does our opponent know, we found the Cauldron Familiar. Drain you. Cauldron Familiar. Sack Cauldron Familiar, because it's food now. And a cat. Drain you. And Cauldron Familiar. Sack the Cauldron Familiar. It is a little bit cannibalistic. I don't know why these cats are eating each other. But it is an effective way to win a game. Well, I mean, that's cat food combo. Infinite cats, infinite food, infinite damage. I guess not infinite cats. Infinite cat sacrifice. Trying to turn our cats into food. Well, all right. Well, we'll give this a try. Let's just start on the fabled passage. Go. I mean, double Ygra. Ooh, opponent's going Abrew. Well, let's crack this. Grab a swamp. Soulscar Mage, eh? Well, play the land, and I think we just need to pass and leave up this fatal push, unfortunately. The good news is if we can actually get to Ygra, it is super big. Bound at land. Monastery Swiftspear. And Monastery Swiftspear. All right, I'll kill a Soulscar Mage. Yeah, found it. Go stacking. Well, land and I guess we Woe Strider. It's a body. Unclear if it'll actually be able to stop this horde of 1-drops. Opponent, Reckless Impulse. Trigger. How about no lands? All right, play with fire. Showdown of the Skulls. Now opponent has a land and a play with fire. Goes to combat attacks. Now we will block. Zack the Goat. Keep the land. Opponent gonna kill the Woe Strider. Sure. Down to 15. Well, play the land and Trail of Crumbs. Make a food and pass the turn. I mean, we can play Ygra next turn, but I'm not sure it's going to realistically be enough. Well, sack the food. Make a treasure. Draw a couple cards. All right. Well, opponent gets 4 more cards to play. Oh, jeez, seriously? 4 more 1-drops, okay. Or 3 1-drops and a Runaway Steamkin, which is even better than a 1-drop, I think. Well, we'll pass the turn. I mean, their team is just going to be too big, right? They just play all this stuff, put all the counters on their dorks, and I don't even think the Tiger can stop them. They have the land. Runaway Steam. Wait, is our opponent? Oh, they get to put the counters on the Steamkin, yeah. All right. Sure, and then counters off the Steamkin. And pings, and Monastery Swiftspear. And another Saga. Opponent. Choose wisely. And pings, and yeah, all right, fair enough. Jeez, well, that was a lot of 1-drops. A lot of 1-drops. Probably an incredibly bad matchup. This might be an incredibly bad matchup. All right, well, yeah, we're in the play, which is good. I'll give this a go. I mean, Cauldron Familiar is a good card-ish against what our opponent's doing. There is a world where we could just combo off. Hive and the Eye Tyrant, Cauldron Familiar. Go. About it. Soulscar Mage. Well, Scavenger's Talent. And land. And a Gilded Goose. Honk honk. And pass the turn. About it. Land. Ooh. Invasion Gabacon. Gonna be a little whiffy here since we have all lands. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Well, we will block with the Cauldron Familiar. And make a food. Untap. Now let's level up Scavenger's Talent. Play the Swamp. Pass the turn. This is actually kind of good because we can start milling ourselves to try to find the Ygra Slick Shot show off. And the Saga, thankfully, we got a Fatal Push to get rid of the Slick Shot show off. Not dead yet, not dead yet. The opponent triggers Prowess and pings us. And passing. Well, get back Cauldron Familiar. Mill ourselves. Drainia. Fabled Passage. Crack Fabled Passage. Mill ourselves. There's the Ygra. Getting closer. Getting closer. Grab a forest. Level up the scavengers. Oh, we need one more cat. We need one more cat. Well, level up the scavenger's talent. End of turn. Sack, sack, sack. Make a food. Get back Ygra. Mill ourselves. Can we hit it? Oh, Pony Scoops! Oh my goodness, we beat Mono Red. We didn't necessarily have the full combo there. We didn't necessarily have the full combo. We still needed one more Cauldron Familiar, but run it back. We're on the draw, which is very concerning against this deck. We'll try it. Opponent Mountain and a 1-drop, of course. Well, play a land, and I guess we just gotta Thought Seize you. Opponent, Slick Shot. Oh, that's a tough hand for us. All right, well, take the Containment Priest. Our most realistic way of winning might very well be comboing off. Well, play the land, play a Scavenger's Talent, play a Scavenger's Talent. See if we are alive. Oh, they're gonna get the case down. All right, there's the case. Pumps the dorks. Draws some cards. Hits us. Down to 11. Well, play a Witch's Oven. I think we actually have to just sack the Witch's Oven to Deadly Dispute and try to hit a Fatal Push or something. Well, pass the turn. I see death coming. I see death coming. Yeah, Mono Red's just so fast. Showdown of the Scalds to draw 4 cards. Yup. Opponent hits us down to 6. Witch's Oven and death. Well, that seems like a tough matchup. Well, that's a 0-lander. Not keeping that. Well, okay, this will try, I guess. We'll put I guess, Camellia to the bottom. Well, all right, what are you up to, opponent? Yorion, oh god. Opponent. Land. Well, play the land. Play the Gilded Goose. Honk honk. Dragon Skull Summit. Well, play the land. Play the Trail of Crumbs. Make a food. And pass the turn. So we can start sacking food to try to do something. Opponent. Fabled Passage sacked. We need a lot of pieces if we're going to actually combo off here. Opponent gets plains. Well, all right. Gilded Goose. Sack the food. Draw a card with the Trail of Crumbs. So we need... Well, there's... Oh, one Cauldron Familiar. Other one goes to the bottom, unfortunately. Play the Pathway. Play the Scavenger's Talent. Level up the Scavenger's Talent. And pass the turn. And has a Vanishing Verse. Alright, sure. Well, let's sack the food. Go digging. Ugh, draw land. Well, there's a Witch's Oven. Play the Witch's Oven. Play the Cauldron Familiar. Overgrown Tomb tapped. Pass the turn. Well, that is good for our Trail of Crumbs, at least. So we need another Cauldron Familiar and a Ygra. Lilla, Undefeated Slick Shot. Okay. Not sure what's going on, but yes. Well, we'll sack the Cauldron Familiar. And sack the food. Get back the Cauldron Familiar. Draw with the Trail of Crumbs. Take the Scavenger's Talent. Getting closer, getting closer. Oh, and a Ygra. Okay, getting very, very close. Let's play the Scavenger's Talent. Let's level up the Scavenger's Talent. Play the Forest. Well, let's see what our opponent's doing with this Lilla. I feel like, well, we'll see what they have to go with this Lilla. If our stuff doesn't die, Deafening Clarion, okay. So we need to make a food with Gilded Goose. Sack the Gilded Goose. Mill ourselves. So we basically just need to hit another Cauldron Familiar. That's all we need. Opponent. Wow, goes attacking. Okay, get back the Cauldron Familiar. Mill ourselves. And kill the Lilla. That was a risky attack. Oh, I think we got to go for it. Sack of food. Mill. We just need to hit a Cauldron Familiar. That's it. Sack of food. Mill. Come on. Cauldron Familiar. Cauldron Familiar for the win. Come on. Let's see the cat food combo. There it is. There it is. There it is. That's what we wanted to see. That's what we wanted to see. Millum. Ygra. The tiger is here. And now, our cats are food. Our cats sack food. Cauldron Familiar. Sack of Cauldron Familiar. And opponent scoops it up. And, well, I guess the deck can win pretty fast when it gets a... when it gets a shot. Well, let's bring in all the discard. I assume our opponent's gotta be like, they gotta be some sort of crazy control deck. Is Fatal Push even worth it? Maybe we go down the Fatal Pushes. See how much we regret that. Let's go up one blot out. Let's try it like that. All right, well, I mean, that's the combo. It is pretty funny when you see the cats sacking each other to themselves. Ygra is a cool card. I feel like Ygra is almost better in Pioneer than it is in Standard in some ways, just because I don't feel like there's as many go for the throat type removal spells around. So I feel like it's kind of more likely to live. Well, all right, we'll give this a shot. Well, let's just Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Thought sees you. Take definitely up the Beanstalk. Opponent land. Well, land on green. Play the Gildagoose. And I don't even know, do we play the Scavenger's Talent? Let's wait. We might end up thought seizing this Vanishing versus opponent. Land. The Celestis. Well, play the Restless Cottage. Yeah, let's Cruel Claw's Heist, no gifting. Take the Vanishing verse. Get down another Gildagoose. Honk honk. Pass the turn. I mean, our opponent's gonna get to start looting with the Celestis. Opponent, tap land, and Yarion. Do a little lootin'. I mean, we're kind of close, though. We need to find a bunch of pieces, but... Ooh, Thought Seize. Well, Thought Seize you. We have drawn a lot of discard, which is good. Whew! Omnath. Definitely not part of the plans. Play the Scavenger's Talent. Play the Witch's Oven. Pass the turn. Next turn, we get to start the milling. Opponent gets to loot again. I mean, they can run out the Yarion, but Yarion by itself doesn't do a ton. It's a body. I guess it's a body. Opponent, wow, discards the land. Okay. And a Clothis. Sure. And, ooh, Pillage. Pillage Bog is a good one. That should find our opponent something. So we need to level up the Scavenger's Talent. Opponent passes. Ooh, wow. Okay. Well, level up the Scavenger's Talent. Opponent gets to loot again. Discards the Yarion. And gonna eat the Cruel Claw's Heist. Forest for our opponent. And Niv Mizzet Reborn. Sure. Alright, so opponent's gonna draw a million cards. Vanishing Verse. Well, Vanishing Verse and Unmortigo. So I guess not a million cards. Well, opponent passes. Oh, that's bad time for Hive of the Eye Tyrant. What do we do now? Play the Hive of the Eye Tyrant. Play the Woe Strider. Our opponent's a Yarion deck too, so actually milling them out seems kind of unrealistic. I imagine that Unmortigo is gonna take Ygra or Cauldron Familiar. Unmortigo. Alright, let's see what they name. Ah, we cast a lot of Thought Seizes too. Opponent's just, they're kind of like a 5-color control deck, right? That's essentially what Niv is, so. Opponent takes all the Cauldron Familiars. So we basically got to find the Camellia somehow and have our stuff not die to Vanishing Verse. Okay, so opponent's going to Vanishing Verse. So let's just, do we want to sack the goat to Scry? Let's just sack it to the Witch's Oven. Mill ourselves, make a food. Yeah, I guess we got to chump, unfortunately. Chump the Niv. Untap. Celestis. Pop it off. The Celestis is triggered every single turn. Opponent doesn't even bother to discard. Well, let's get back the Woe Strider. Yeah, I mean, all right. Woe Strider. We got to get it back because of the Clothis is going to eat it. Mill you, I guess. Make a go. But I think we just are losing. I think we just lose fairly here. Eats the Unmortigo. And Ancient Ancient Cornucopia. Yeah, our opponent's got it. So the good news is, if we actually can combo, we do combo infinitely. Like, our opponent gaining life doesn't actually make a difference. Can we actually combo? That is a whole nother question. Oh, we really need to keep the Niv from coming down somehow. I mean, maybe we just hit some of our card draw. That would be helpful. Let's run it like that. All right, on to game 3. We're on the play. I mean, we got to keep this. We can't not keep this. Cauldron Familiar Witch's Oven. We got to kill the Goose. We got the Ygras. How this line, no discard or anything, so no protection for our opponent's 5-color control deck, but, well, land. Gilded Goose. Honk honk. Tap land. Now, play the land. Cauldron Familiar. And the Witch's Oven. Pass the turn. Croaglass Ice isn't bad. That gives us a discard spell at least. Found it. Well, sack the Cauldron Familiar. Untap. Ooh, there's a Scavenger's Talent. That's actually kind of sweet. So, let's Cruel Claws Heist you. Leyline Binding. Oh my. Well, we're going to take the Leyline Binding since that's the thing they can immediately cast. That is a handful of cards that we cannot easily beat, though. Let's get down the Scavenger's Talent and pass the turn. We need our opponent not to draw black and red mana. Opponent Island gets Yarion. Well, okay. Get back the Cauldron Familiar. Pangya. Sack the Cauldron Familiar. Double food. Untap. Well, that's Deadly Dispute. Sack the food. Draw a couple cards. Hopefully hit a land. Okay, there's some lands. So play the land. Untapped. Level up. Scavenger's Talent. Okay, there is a world where we could win next turn if our opponent doesn't top deck mana that lets them cast this interaction. Does find some interaction, so we need to Cauldron Familiar, sack the food. Mill ourselves. We need to find another Cauldron Familiar. We need to find another Cauldron Familiar. Cauldron Familiar comes in. Sack the Cauldron Familiar. Mill ourselves. Cauldron Familiar. Not yet. Cauldron Familiar. Sack of food. One more shot at it. Mill. All right. So, no win yet. Opponent gets rid of the Scavenger's Talent. Go to combat. Hit you with the Cauldron Familiar. Play take Numa. Run out the Tiger. And this is basically it. Pass the turn. About it. We're just going to win with Ygra beatdowns here. And opponent scoops it up. Wow. Fighting past the control deck somehow. Well, no combo, but one of the upsides of having Ygra as a combo piece is it can just get really big. It can just get really big. It can get really big. And that's what's going to happen there is just make a bunch of food, grow the Tiger, one-shot you. So sweet. So what do we learn this week about our Cannibal Cat combo for Pioneer? And overall, we went 6 and 7 with the deck. So 46% match win percentage. The deck, it does a powerful thing. And we got to see the combo be very strong when we assembled it. And Scavenger's Talent is kind of ridiculous. That card is so incredibly good in this deck and probably in other decks as well. I think we need to explore Scavenger's Talent more. That was one of the big takeaways from this deck. The deck itself, it has some consistency issues, right? Like, if our opponent has Graveyard Hate, it makes our combo basically impossible to pull off, so that's one issue. Plus, sometimes we just kind of get run over. Even with the help of Scavenger's Talent, we do need to find a lot of pieces to combo. We need Ygra and double Cauldron Familiar, so that's 3 pieces. The backup combo, Ygra, Camella, Woe Strider, and a Scavenger's Talent, so that's 4 combo pieces. So we can't always assemble our combo, and our fair game plan, it's okay. We can win with Ygra fairly. We got to see that against like Mono White, where Ygra just turned into the Abyss very quickly, where our opponent couldn't kill it, so they had to chump block it every turn because it was so big, and it would just grow and grow, and opponent eventually just ran out of gas to be able to keep chump blocking, or eventually we assemble the combo and we're able to win that way. So Ygra actually was kind of impressive as a fair card, especially in a deck like this, backed by a bunch of food. I do think there is more potential here. I think there's other directions that you could go with this deck. We have like Cash Grab, which could be another option for filling the graveyard, for finding combo pieces. You could go more towards like a dedicated food deck where you're just like playing more sacrifice stuff, more food producers, and trying to make the fair game plan better, even if the combo is going to be less likely. So I think the archetype does have potential, but I would say right now it's kind of like medium to low in terms of just how competitive it is. I mean, 46% win rate isn't horrible or anything. It's not like we're winning 20% of the time, but I don't think Ygra is breaking Pioneer or anything like that, because it does take a lot of pieces to combo, and it does get shut down by Graveyard Hate. But that is the Cannibal Cat combo. That's been our deck for today. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will talk to you soon.